For my main guitar, I'll be playing my 1981 Fender, the Strat model. I'll be using the neck position, or neck pickup position, which some might consider uncommon for lead guitar. Most guitarists tend to use the bridge position for solos. But I've personally grown to like the unique sound I get from the neck pickup. It's a little noisy when notes aren't ringing out, so I'll try my best to remember to cut the volume back during descriptions. I'm using a very basic setup that you can achieve with basic pedals or a common amplifier that includes distortion and reverb. In the studio, I'm recording with a Carl Martin Plexitone. The boost is not engaged. Select and drive R. Level is set to 11 o'clock. Tone is set to 2 o'clock. High gain is set to 1 o'clock. And crunch is set between 10 and 11 o'clock. Next in line, I'm using the Carl Martin Headroom True Spring Reverb pedal. This has 2 individual channels, so you can easily switch from a light reverb to a heavier reverb at your will. For this DVD, I'm engaging the A channel with the tone and level both set to about 3 o'clock. When playing lead guitar, the most important note for you to know is the root note. If you're playing over a chord, the root note would name the chord. So over an E chord, the root note would be an E note, which repeats itself up and down the neck. The root note also names the key of music. So in the key of E, the root note is E. For now, we will start out simple and only play over individual chords. This is for the sake of the beginner, so we can start easy, but also have a solid foundation for all of the other notes and scales we are going to mix in. As we progress, we'll be playing over multiple chords, as well as mixing in unconventional scales and modes. Overall, we'll be giving you the ability to play any and every note in any position on the fretboard over any given chord. Let's start out with the E5 power chord. This is simply the 6th string open, played along with the 5th string 2nd fret with the index finger. Just strum down on the 6th and 5th strings together to sound this chord. After holding the E5 chord for 4 beats, we are going to play the E root note in place of the chord for 4 beats. That's the 6th string open E by itself for counts 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end of 4 beats, we're going to move to the next E, also known as the octave E on the 4th string, 2nd fret. Here I'm using my index finger, and play it for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, we'll move to the 2nd string, 5th fret, which is another octave E note, and play it over 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. So for our first beginner exercise, we have 3 different E notes to play after the E5 power chord. Starting with the 6th string open E, then up 1 octave to the 4th string 2nd fret, then up another octave, 5th fret E note. Which, by the way, you can duplicate this E pitch on the 1st string open as well. The reason for learning these different E pitches is so you can easily move around the fretboard like a true lead guitarist. So trust me, as these lessons progress and you learn different scales, you will value the importance of knowing where the root notes are on the fretboard. Okay, so for our first exercise, let's play our E power chord and 3 octave E root notes over a drum track at a slow practice tempo. To play great lead guitar, it is important to know where your root notes are on all 6 strings. So far, we've learned the 6th string open E, 4th string 2nd fret octave E, and 2nd string 5th fret octave E, which also is duplicated on the 1st string open. From here, we move to the 5th string 7th fret for another E root note. The next octave E is on the 3rd string, 9th fret. And we'll wrap it up on the 1st string, 12th fret, octave E root note. Let's put this all together with a practice test. And now, for the sake of completion, let's play all of our E root notes from the low 6th string open, all the way up the neck, to the 1st string 12th fret E. Every note has an octave 12 frets up on the same string. So the 6th string open E also has an octave on the 6th string 12th fret. The next octave we have will be on the 4th string 14th fret. Then the octave E on the second string, 17th fret. The fifth string, octave E, is on the 19th fret. Then an octave on the third string, 21st fret. And if you have a guitar equipped with 24 frets, you could play a high octave E on the first string, 24th fret. If your guitar only goes up to the 21st or 22nd fret, you can still achieve this note by bending the string up to the pitch of an E note. Just apply pressure to the string, and while holding the note, bend the string to match the pitch of an E. This is tricky if you're a beginner, so another technique is to play a harmonic just above an imaginary 24th fret. To achieve the harmonic technique, lightly touch the string above the fret wire, or in this case, the imaginary fret wire, and you'll produce the pitch you're looking for. Here's a practice tempo for our octave positions. You might notice that I give fretted notes a little shake. This is a technique called vibrato, and I'm a very big fan of it because it gives a bit more life to single notes. If you would like to achieve this vibrato technique, just rotate your wrist back and forth while applying pressure to a note. In this next exercise, let's run through all of the E notes, but this time we'll play it at a slow, medium, and more challenging fast tempo for experienced viewers. to cover a lot of ground on this DVD. Since it is a title in our Easy DVD series, I don't want to move too fast. This is for the sake of the beginner viewers. At this time, I want to introduce you to the minor third interval, starting with our 6-string open E root note. The minor third interval is 3 frets up the neck. Open 1, 2, 3. So we'll play the open 6-string E root note, then our minor third interval, which is the G note on the 6-string, 3rd fret, then back to our E root note. The count is going to be a little bit different this time. Play E for 1, 2, the minor third G note for 3, 4, then back to the E root note for 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, we move up to our octave E on the 4th string, 2nd fret, then the minor third G, which is on the 4th string, 5th fret. If your fingers are long enough, you can stretch and play this with your ring finger. If not, you'll have to use your pinky. This might be a little tricky for beginner players, but to be a good lead guitarist, you really need to learn to use your pinky. So that's why I'm throwing this exercise at you early. If you're having trouble getting this note to ring out, make sure you're using proper finger placement by having your fingertip directly behind the fret wire. If you're too far back or right above the fret wire, it becomes difficult, especially for beginners, to get this note to sound. So keep things simple by placing your fingertips right behind the fret wire. Also, you'll notice that I'm keeping my finger placement with the root note even when I'm playing the minor third. This is to allow for a flowing transition between notes. Now let's move up to the 2nd string, 5th fret E, with our index finger, and play the minor third G note on the 8th fret with the ring or pinky finger. The count is 1, 2, 3, 4, then back to the E root note for 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our root to minor third exercise with a tempo. That the 5th string root to minor third exercise would be E on the 7th fret to G on the 10th fret. However, there are always alternate ways to play things on guitar, especially lead guitar. So here, we're going to play the 5th string 7th fret root note with the ring finger, and the minor third G note on the 4th string 5th fret with the index finger. It's the same pitch or same note as the 5th string 10th fret G, but it's 5 frets down on the 4th string 5th fret. So we have E with the ring on the 5th string 7th fret to G on the 4th string 5th fret with the index. Then we'll go back to E, and the count will be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next is our octave E on the 3rd string, 9th fret. And of course we can play the minor third on the same string on the 12th fret. However, the alternate fingering is on the 2nd string, 8th fret. So for this position, we'll play the E root note on the 3rd string 9 with the middle finger, to the 2nd string 8 with the index, and the count will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then up to the octave E on the 1st string 12, to G on 15, back to E on 12. By the way, when you get higher up the neck and the frets are closer together, it's definitely acceptable to use different fingering. For example, a lot of lead guitar players will play E with the index and G with the middle or second finger when they are up past the 12th fret. Use whatever works best for you. I personally use my ring finger most of the time, but I do tend to switch it out for different sounds that I want to achieve. Okay, here's our root to minor third with the tempo. Now let's put all of our positions together at a slow, medium, and fast exercise pace. Now we're going to be adding another tone to our scale. We have the root and the minor third. The next note will be the fourth, also known as the perfect fourth. Our root or key note is the E, 6th string open. Then the minor third is G, 6th string 3rd fret. And the fourth is A on the 5th string open. The count is 1, 2 for E, 3, 4 for G, and 1, 2, 3, 4 for A. Next, we move up to the 4th string, 2nd fret for E, up to the 5th fret for G, then the A note, or 4th interval, is on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, with the index finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to the next octave on the second string, 5th fret, E, to G, then the first string, 5th fret for A with the index finger. When we switch to the 5th string scale position, E is on the 7th fret, played with the ring finger, move to the 4th string, 5th fret, G with the index, up to the 7th fret, A with the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next octave E root note starts on the 3rd string, 9th fret with the middle finger this time, to the 2nd string, 8th fret, G with the index, to the 2nd string, 10 for the A note with the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then up to the high octave E on the 1st string, 12, to G on the 15, since we don't have any other strings to switch to, we'll move up to the 1st string, 17th fret to play the A note. You can stretch and play each note with a different finger. Or you can move your hand up the neck. I recommend practicing both ways. Here's our root to minor 3rd to 4th interval scale pattern with a tempo. For this beginner section of this title, we are at the midway point for learning our first scale. However, we've already managed to cover the entire neck of the guitar, which is very important for playing great lead guitar. The next interval we will learn is the 5th. In our open position, we have the root, minor 3rd, perfect 4th. The next note, the 5th interval, is on the 5th string, 2nd fret. Since our root note is E, we are playing an E scale, which is the same as saying we are playing in the key of E. The minor 3rd interval is G, our 4th interval is A, and the new note, the 5th interval, is B. We'll play each note for one beat, so with the 4 count, we play 1, 2, 3, 4. Then move up to the next octave on the 4th string, 2nd fret, to the 5th, then the 3rd string, 2nd, and the B note or 5th interval on the 4th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. To the 2nd string notes, E on the 5th fret, G on the 8th fret, to the 1st string, A on the 5, and B on 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's switch to the 5th string scale position with E on the 7th fret, played with the ring finger, which puts us in position to switch to the 4th string, 5th fret G note with the index finger. 7th fret A with the ring, then move the ring finger up to the 4th string 9 for the B. 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting with the 3rd string E note on the 9th fret, to the 2nd string G on the 8th, A on the 10th, and ring finger up to B on the 12th. 1, 2, And onto the first string, we'll play E on the 12th, G on the 15th, A on the 17th, and B on the 19th fret. You can play this with different fingers or just move one finger around. That's the 12th, 15th, 17th, 19th. Here's our scale, playing root to fifth interval with a tempo. To complete the 5 notes that make up the pentatonic scale, we are adding the dominant 7th interval, which you can simply call the 7th interval or the minor 7th interval. In the key of E, the 7th is the D note. In the open position, we have the 6th string E root note to G, 5th string A to B, and to end the scale, we now have the 4th string open D note. Our count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding the D note or a minor 7th for a full 4 beats. Playing our octave scale, we start on the 4th string E to G, 3rd string A to B, using the ring finger for B, and end on the 2nd string, pivoting up to the 3rd fret D note with the index finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving up to our next position, start the E minor pentatonic scale on the 2nd string E to G, 1st string, 5th fret A with the index, 7th fret B with the ring, then move your ring finger up to the 10th fret for the D note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. From here, we'll switch to the 5th string scale position, starting with E on the 7th fret, with the ring finger, of course, to the 4th string notes G with the index on the 5th fret, A with the ring on the 7th, up with the ring to the 9th fret, then switch to the 3rd string 7th fret with the index finger for D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next octave starts on the 3rd string, 9th fret with the middle finger, to the 2nd string 8 with the index, 10 with the ring, up to 12 with the ring, and end on the 1st string 10th fret with the index. We have E, G, A, B, D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll wrap the scale up with the highest octave position on the 1st string, 12th fret, to 15, 17, 19, then 22, providing your guitar goes that high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is with the tempo. Now we're going to speed things up a bit. First, we'll be playing eighth notes, which means instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we will divide each count into 2 pulses by inserting the word and, as in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We'll also be playing from root to octave. So our open position will be the 6th string E to G, 5th string A, B, and 4th string D to octave E. The count is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Basically, you're holding the octave E for counts 4 and. Next, we'll play the scale in reverse, starting with the 4th string E, down to D, 5th string B, down to A, to 6th string G, to lower octave E. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice I'm now using my middle finger for the G note, which allows my index finger to easily play the 2nd fret notes. Altogether, with the count, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then to the next position, starting on the 4th string, 2nd fret E. Play that up to the 2nd string, 5th fret E, then back to the lower E on the 4th string. Next is the 2nd string, 5th fret E to G. Then on the 1st string, I'll play things a little bit different. To change up the pattern, play the 1st string A with your index, move it up to B on the 7th fret, then stretch your middle finger to play the 10th fret D note, and play the octave E on the 12th fret with your pinky. Then use the same fingers in reverse. To the 5th string, 7th fret E, up to the octave, on the 3rd string, 9th fret, and back. Then the 3rd string, 9th fret, to the octave, and back. And to wrap it up, we're playing just the 1st string notes, 12, 15, 17, 19, 22, and 24. Providing your neck has that many frets. Otherwise, you can bend up to the E pitch. And then you play it descending. Here it is with the tempo. Here, we'll ascend several octaves by connecting the scale positions. This may require altering the fingering from time to time. For the open position, you could use the same fingers. But building off the 4th string notes, when you get to the D on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, you want to move this index finger up to the 5th fret play the E so you can flow into this third octave position, where we'll hold the 12th fret E, and then we'll descend in pitch. Is with the tempo. When you ascend from the 5th string E, you can play the octave E on the 3rd string with the ring or middle finger, allowing you to smoothly transition to the 2nd string notes up to the octave with the proper fingering. So we'll play this ascending, hold that octave E, and then descend. Another way to practice this scale is to play it ascending and descending without resting on the 12th fret E note. So when you get up to the 1st string, instead of pausing or resting on this high E note, first you'll play the D note, E, then go right back to D and continue with the descent. And of course, you could practice the scale descending first, then ascending. Here it is with the tempo. Now let's look at the octaves above the 12th fret and apply the E minor pentatonic scale. Starting on the 6th string, we have E on 12 to G on 15, 5th string A on 12, B on 14, to the 4th string D on 12, to the octave E on 14. Begin the next octave with the index finger on the 14th fret, 4th string 14, up to G on 17, to 3rd string 14, then 16, index up to 2nd string 15, to end on 17. And for the sake of being complete, the highest octave would start on the 2nd string 17, up to 20, to the 1st string 17, 19, and if your frets go high enough to the 22nd fret, and even higher if you have a 24th fret guitar, or you could bend. Starting on the 5th string 19th fret E. Next we have the 4th string 17th fret G, A on 19, up to B on 21, to 3rd string D on 19, and octave E on 21. For the last octave, you can play your 3rd string 21 to 2nd string 20, 22, 24 if you have it, to the 1st string 22 and 24. The problem is many guitars only have 21 or 22 frets. For example, let's look at this 22 fret Strat. In order to play this high position scale on this guitar, we have to start out on the 3rd string E, 21st fret, then switch to the 2nd string G on the 20th, A on the 22nd, then switch to the 1st string 19th fret for B, up to the 22nd fret for D, then we bend the 22nd fret to achieve the pitch that would achieve the 24th fret for the octave E. Or as I pointed out in the beginner section, we can also play this note using a 24th fret harmonic right above where the imaginary fret wire would be. So far, we've learned to apply the E minor pentatonic scale up and down the neck. You may be wondering where you can use this scale. In other words, what chords or a group of chords you can play over. Each scale note we have learned can be a chord. Our scale notes are E, G, A, B, and D. And as we've learned, the notes repeat with each octave. E, G, A, B, D. So if you wanted to write a song in this key, the chords you would use can be any combination of E, G, A, B, D. Here I'm just using power chords to keep things simple. Power chords are also called 5 chords, such as an E5, G5, A5, B5, and D5. For the E5, play the 6th string open along with the 5th string's 2nd fret to strum the 5th and 6th strings together, as we have learned in the beginning section. For G5, play the 6th string 3rd fret with the index finger and the 5th string 5th fret with the ring. A5 is the 5th string open with the 4th string 2nd fret. B5 is the 5th string 2nd fret with your index along with the 4th string 4th fret ring finger. And D5 is the 4th string open with the 3rd string 2nd fret. When you hear someone use the phrase playing in key, that means they are using the same scale that the chords are derived from. So if you encounter a song that uses the chords E5, G5, and A5, you can make a pretty good judgment that the chords are in the key of E minor pentatonic, and therefore you can solo over those chords using the E minor pentatonic scale. Another example would be the chords E5, A5, and B5. The name of each chord is a note in the E minor pentatonic scale, so that's a good indication to you that you can play lead fills or write a guitar solo over those chords using the E minor pentatonic scale. Another popular and very similar scale is the major pentatonic scale. Let's get familiar with this scale by learning it inside and out. Start with the 6th-string open E to F sharp on the 2nd fret with the index finger, to G sharp on the 4th fret with the ring. Next, pivot your index to the 5th-string 2nd fret for the B note, then C sharp with the ring finger on the 4th fret, and end by pivoting your index to the 4th-string 2nd fret, octave E note. Altogether, we have E, F sharp, G sharp, E, C sharp, E. Then we'll play it in reverse. Octave E with the index, C sharp on the 5th string with the ring, to B with the index, to 6th string, G sharp, F sharp, E. So we'll play this forward with a pause on the octave, and then descending. Then we'll play the scale forward and back without pausing. Here it is with the tempo. For the octave position, we start with the index on the 4th string 2nd fret for E, then move it up to the 4th fret for F sharp, and play G sharp with the ring. By moving up like this, your index finger is in place to move to the 3rd string B note on the 4th fret, followed by the C sharp on the 6th fret with the ring, and end on the octave E on the 2nd string, 5th fret, with the middle finger. This positioning in itself allows for some unique lead lines. Here I'm picking the B and hammering my ring to sound the C sharp, then picking the E for the end, and repeating as desired. Okay, back to the exercise, where we will play the scale descending, E on the 2nd string 5th fret, to C, 3rd string 6, down to B on the 4th, to the 4th string G sharp on 6, F sharp on 4, then move down to E on the 2nd. Now on to the third octave for our major pentatonic scale. We start on the second string, 5th fret with the index, move up to 7, then play 9 with the ring, pivot your index to the first string 7, 9 with the middle, and stretch up to the octave E with the pinky on the 12th fret. If this is too much of a stretch for you, you could play 7 and 9 with the index, then up to the octave E with whatever is comfortable. However, the first fingering offers some very unique patterns that you could use for lead runs. So we'll play it ascending with the pause on the E, descending with a pause on E, and then ascending and descending without a pause. Now let's put all three positions together for a continuous exercise. Don't forget about your octave positions. For example, any scale can be played 12 frets higher on the neck, so be sure to practice each scale in its octave position. You'll notice throughout this video that I will be introducing scales with different exercises. For example, sometimes we'll play a scale ascending with a pause on the octave, and other times we'll play it continuously. Here's another example of how you can practice each scale. Let's combine 2 octaves and pause on the second octave E, then descend. And naturally, we can apply this starting on the second octave and ascend to the third octave E. Pause and then descend. Now we're going to combine all 3 major pentatonic scale positions and continuously play them ascending and descending. apply each exercise pattern to every scale we learn, so it's up to you to come up with your own exercise regime to practice each scale thoroughly so you know them inside and out. For now, here is our 3-octave scale run with a practice tempo. Here's the major pentatonic starting on the 5th string. The root is E with the index on the 5th string 7th fret. Move up to 9, then play 11 with the ring, to the 4th string 9 with the index, 11 with the ring, to the octave on the 3rd string 9. Here we start a new position. From E, we move the index up to 11 for F sharp, ring to 13 for G sharp, move your index up to the 2nd string 12 for the B note, ring on the 14th fret for the C sharp, then index to the 1st string 12th fret for the octave E. Then we'll play it descending to the 3rd string E root note. Then descending to the 5th string root note. And for practice, we'll turn it around and ascend both octaves. Pause on the 2nd root on the 1st string 12, then run down the scale 2 octaves. To end on the 5th string root note. As we learned with the minor pentatonic scale, each scale note can be a chord that we can use for rhythm guitar. And that would allow us to use the same scale for lead guitar fills and solos. Here, I'm still using power chords, but now I'm adding the octave of the chord name. For example, the E5 is the 6th string open, 5th string 2nd fret, and 4th string 2nd fret. I'm just barring my index finger across the 2nd fret of the 5th and 4th strings and strumming 6 through 4. Next, we have the F sharp 5 chord. Index is on the 6th string, 2nd fret, ring on the 5th string, 4th fret, and pinky on the 4th string, 4th fret. This is a movable finger structure. So for the next chord, we follow our scale pattern, E, F sharp, G sharp. So just move your index finger up to the root on the 4th fret. Your ring will automatically fall into place on the 5th string, 6th fret, and pinky on the 4th string, 6th fret. Next note in the scale is B5, B, so we'll make that into a B5. 5th string 2nd, along with the 4th string 4 and 3rd string 4. And move it up 2 frets, and you get a C sharp 5, frets 4, 6, and 6. All together, we have harmonized the scale, or simply we're playing each scale note as a power chord. E, F sharp, G sharp, B, C, E5, F sharp 5, G sharp 5, B5, C sharp 5. As we discussed earlier, playing in key means that we are using the same scale as the chords are derived from. So if we encounter a song that uses the chords E5 and F sharp 5, we can easily guess that the E major pentatonic scale would work nicely for a lead. Even if we throw in a G sharp 5, we know that it is part of the E major pentatonic scale. So we could try that scale for lead guitar, and in theory, it will fit. Playing in key, in a simple definition, is when you have chord names that match the names of the notes in a scale. Later, we'll look into more detail regarding major and minor chords, but for now, this will do. You might even find songs that use a chord matching each note from a scale. Here we have E, F sharp, G sharp, B, C. And an example would be using all of those as power chords. I didn't necessarily play the chords in the order, but they are all present. When that happens, you know without a doubt that you can use the major pentatonic scale. What if you have a chord progression using a chord name that is not derived from a note in your scale, but you think it might fit? For example, an E5 to an A5 chord progression. You can just try the scale. You might get lucky and it'll work. However, another way you can look at it is by comparing the other notes in the chord. For example, our scale consists of E, F sharp, G sharp, B, C sharp. There is not an A note in the E major pentatonic scale. However, when we look at the A5 power chord, we see that it uses the notes A on the 5th string open and E on the 4th string 2nd fret. Well, there is a note that is in common with the scale. So we can try it and see if the scale works. it does. You'll find when using power chords, rather than full chords such as majors and minors, that you can use several scales. However, the bigger the chord gets, the less options you have. The E5 to A5 chord progression gives us an interesting option by allowing us to use both the minor pentatonic and major pentatonic scales. Another chord that would be allowed in combining these scales would be the B5 chord, as in E5 to B5 chord progression. Since B5 is derived from both the E pentatonic major and minor scales, you can use either scale or even both to solo over an E5 to B5 chord progression. Another interchangeable chord progression in the key of E would be E5, A5, and B5. As we know, all three chords can be played behind the minor pentatonic or major pentatonic. Minor, major. Minor, major. And again, you could even swap back and forth between the major and minor scales for some interesting and contrasting lead work. Now we are going to learn the full major scale, which is a 7-note or diatonic scale. The major scale may sound very familiar as it is the foundation for popular music theory. It starts out with the first 3 notes from the E major pentatonic scale, the E, F sharp, G sharp. But we will play them differently. For the pentatonic or major pentatonic, we used our index and ring finger. For the major scale, we'll play the 6th string open to the 2nd fret F sharp with the middle finger, then the 4th fret with the G sharp with the pinky. Next we have the 5th string open A, which tells us why we were able to play the E major pentatonic scale over the E5 to A5 chord progression. Moving on after A, we have the 2nd fret B with the middle finger to the 4th fret C sharp with the pinky. Next is the 4th string 1st fret D sharp with the index and octave E on the 2nd fret with the middle. And this D sharp is the reason why we use the middle finger to play the 2nd fret notes. So the index is freed up for that D sharp that happens to be on the 1st fret. So we got 6th string open, 2, 4, 5th string open, 2, 4, and to the 4th string index on the 1st fret, then octave E. Altogether E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and again the octave E. Starting with the octave 4th string 2nd fret, middle finger, to the 4th fret with the pinky. This puts our index finger in place to switch to the 3rd string 1st fret, 2nd with the middle, to the 4th with the pinky, pivoting the index finger up to the 2nd string 2nd fret, to the 4th fret with the ring, then the octave with the pinky on the 5th fret. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and octave E. For the next octave, move your middle finger to the 2nd string 5th fret. Then 7th fret with the pinky. Next, move to the 1st string 4th fret with the index, 5th fret with the middle, 7th fret with the ring. Move that up to the 9th fret, then 11, and then the octave on the 12th fret. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. I'd like to interject that there are different ways you can play these scales. In other words, there are different positions. However, I'm purposely showing you random positions for one reason, to challenge you. Another reason is so you will eventually begin to grasp how the fretboard flows. So while some of this might be confusing at first, just go with the suggested patterns and practice them as they are taught. By the end, you will begin to see how they all come together, and hopefully I will have done my job of teaching you how to cover the entire fretboard. Now, on to the 5th string root note. Here we'll play the E on the 7th fret with our index, stretch up to the 9th fret with the middle, then the 11th with the pinky. On the 4th string, 7th fret with the index, 9th fret with the middle, 11 with the pinky. On the 3rd string, pivot the index up to the 8th fret, then end on the 9th fret octave with the middle. Altogether, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. For the 3rd string position, start on the octave E with your index, 9th fret, up to the 11th with the middle, to the 13th with the pinky. On the 2nd string, pivot up to the 10th fret with the index, 12th with the middle, and 14th with the pinky. To the 1st string, 11 with the index, and end on the 12th fret octave with the middle. We have E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and octave E. Now that we have learned the full major scale, let's look at scale degrees. We know that our notes are E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and octave E. In the future, we'll often refer to these notes in scale degrees or numerically. E will be 1, F sharp will be 2, G sharp will be 3 or major 3rd, A will be 4, B is 5, C sharp is the 6th, D sharp is the major 7th, and our octave, E, is back to 1 again. As a side note, keep in mind that the octave will sometimes be referred to as 8, but that's more for advanced theory. For now, we'll just start over at the octave with number 1. Now that we've learned the scale degrees to the major scale, let's compare it with the major pentatonic. Both scales share the notes E, F sharp, and G sharp, or the scale degrees 1, 2, and major 3rd. However, the major scale uses the A note, or 4th scale degree, but the major pentatonic does not include this note. Moving on, both scales include the B and C sharp, or the 5th and 6th scale degree. However, the major scale includes the D sharp, which is the major seventh, and the major pentatonic does not. Basically, the major pentatonic excludes the use of the fourth and major seventh scale degree. Both scales are very interchangeable. Whenever you are able to use a major scale, you'll find that you are also able to use the major pentatonic. As you experiment, you may find certain instances where one works better than the other. This will come with time and exploration, but for a good foundation, you now know that the two are interchangeable. As with our previous scale, we can play power chords in place of each scale note. So we have the E5, F sharp 5, G sharp 5, A5, B5, C sharp 5, and the new chord is going to be the D sharp 5, which starts out on the 4th string 1st fret with the index, 3rd string 3rd fret with the ring, and the octave is on the 2nd string 4th fret with the pinky. Whenever you have 4th string power chords, or power chords where the root is on the 4th string, you'll be able to use this fingering, so it's a movable chord. So when we move up to the octave E on the 4th string 2nd fret, with our index, we also play the 3rd string 4th fret with the ring and the 2nd string 5th fret, octave E with the pinky, and we now have an alternative E5 power chord. We have the low one, and now we have the octave one here. Altogether we have E5, F sharp 5, G sharp 5, A5, B5, C sharp 5, D sharp 5, and E5. All of these power chords use notes from the E major scale, with the exception of the D sharp 5, which combines D sharp with A sharp. Keep this in the back of your mind. Theoretically, this chord should not fit with the E major scale. However, there are some exceptions where it does, and some where it doesn't. So this is one of those gray areas where you have to rely on experimentation rather than following a rule book. When you harmonize each scale degree, you come up with full chords, or triads. Since this isn't a DVD on the subject of chords or music theory, I'm going to keep this section very simple. So far we've been playing power chords. Technically, or according to the standards of music theory, power chords are not chords, but fifth harmonies. For example, the E power chord, or E5, only uses the root and 5th scale degree. The octave is the same as the root, so if you're playing the 3-string version, even though there's 3 strings, you're still only playing the root and the 5th. The true chord is made up of 3 or more different notes. A triad, the smallest chord, is made up of 3 notes: the scale degree or root, its 3rd interval, and 5th interval. So in the key of E major, the E chord is made of the first note, E, the 3rd is G sharp, and the 5th is B. When we arrange these notes on different strings, we have an open E chord. First string open E, second string open B, third string first fret G sharp, playing that with the index, fourth string second fret with the ring finger for the E note, the fifth string second fret with the middle finger for B, and the sixth string open for our low E. When a chord uses a major third interval, like E to G sharp, it is a major chord. So this open E is an E major chord. The next chord is going to be an F sharp minor. Here we bar the index finger across the second fret, pressing down on all 6 strings, then add the pinky to the fourth string fourth fret and the ring to the fifth string fourth fret. And when we strum all 6 strings, we have the F sharp minor chord. If you were to take this fingering and add the middle finger to the third string third fret, this would become an F sharp major chord. However, that would change the third string A note to an A sharp, which is not in the E major scale. So to stay in key with our scale, we need to play the F sharp minor chord. Now if you move that same structure up, so your index finger is barring the fourth fret, you will have the chord for the G sharp note, which is our third scale degree, which makes a G sharp minor. And just like the last chord, if you add the middle finger to the third string fifth fret, this would change the chord to a G sharp major. But by adding that note, which is a C note, you are straying from the scale. So this is why the third scale degree needs to be harmonized as a G sharp minor. Okay, so far we have the open E major, the barred F sharp minor across a second fret, and G sharp minor barred on the fourth fret. The next scale note after E, F sharp, G sharp is A. So for our fourth scale degree, the chord we will be playing is an A major chord. The easiest way to play this is to bar the second fret across strings 2, 3, and 4 and add the fifth string open. You don't want to pick the first or sixth strings because you'll be added different notes that may stray from the scale notes. The notes we are playing, by the way, are the fifth string A, fourth string E, third string A, and the second string C sharp, which we know are all included in the E major scale. Moving up to B, our fifth scale degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have a B major chord. Play the fifth string second fret with the index and bar the fourth fret with the ring finger across strings 4, 3, and 2. This chord is made up of B, F sharp, another B on the third string, and D sharp on the second string, all from our E major scale. Again, for now you don't want to add the first and sixth string notes unless you know for a fact you are adding scale notes. Otherwise, you might stray from playing in key. We've harmonized E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B. Next is C sharp, our sixth scale degree, which will be a C sharp minor chord. Here you want to play the fifth string fourth fret with the index, fourth string sixth fret with the ring, third string sixth fret with the pinky, and second string fifth fret with the middle. And you have a C sharp minor chord. If you like, you can even bar the index finger to include the first string fourth fret. Just lay it across there. And next we have the seventh scale degree, which is D sharp. which creates a different chord altogether. When you apply the 1-3-5 triad formula to the 7th scale degree, you get a diminished chord. Here we are playing the 5th string 6th fret with the index, 4th string 7th fret with the middle, 3rd string 8th fret with the pinky, and placing the ring finger on the 2nd string 7th fret. Strum strings 5 through 2, and you have a very suspenseful sounding D sharp diminished chord. We could make this chord a major or a minor chord, but then we would be straying from the E major scale. So to stay within the scale, the 7th scale note, or as we call it, the 7th interval or scale degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or major 7. Actually, you got the 1st, 2nd, major 3rd, 4th, 5th, major 6th, major 7th. That major 7th scale degree, we could play it on the 5th string as well. That needs to be a diminished chord, theoretically, to stay within key. Which, this leads us up to our octave chord, or E major. 5th string, 7th fret, and bar the 9th fret on strings 4, 3, and 2. Now you might be saying, I thought this was a lead guitar video. Well, it is, and you may have some other person in your band playing rhythm, and you may feel you don't need to learn these chords. However, if you don't learn to play them, you still should understand how they are derived and how scales and chords went in hand in music. Here's a practice tempo running through our chords. Now that we're using the full major scale and building chords using only scale notes, that is truly what playing in key means. So if you come across a song or chord progression with the chords E, F sharp minor, and G sharp minor, we know those chords are derived from the key of E using the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd scale degree, and we can definitely use the major scale and major pentatonic scale over those chords. Sometimes rhythm guitarists will call this a 1-2-3 chord progression. Let's say you have a song using the chords E, C sharp minor, A, and B. If you dissect the notes used in each chord, you will see they use only scale notes derived from the E major scale, and therefore, using scale degrees, this is called a 1-6-4-5 chord progression. You can definitely use the major scale over this, but be careful. With some experimentation, you'll find that the more chords that are involved in a progression, the more selective you have to be with your phrasing. Not always, but at times. If you find that a certain note sounds off, you may want to move up or down to the next scale note to better blend in with the chord change. Also, you may find that if you follow the chord that is being played with its root note or other chord notes, you'll be safer than if you were randomly playing scale notes. The same would apply to the E major pentatonic scale. Next, let's look at one of the most common progressions, the 1-4-5 progression. In the key of E major, the first scale note is E, the fourth scale note or scale degree is A, and the fifth is B. So a 1-4-5 chord progression would consist of the chords E, A, and B. When you see these chords in any order, you can always bet on using the E major scale. Naturally, you can always use the E major pentatonic scale. Sometimes, for some reason, you can even use the E minor pentatonic scale. This seems to contradict what we've learned, but in popular music, there are always times when you can break the rules. So in this case, we have all major chords, E, A, and B, which is a 1-4-5 chord progression, which in theory uses only notes in harmony with the E major scale, or the E major pentatonic. Yet, when we mix it up with the minor pentatonic, we have a very bluesy or rock sound that definitely works in popular music. So, when will this work and when won't it work? If your chord progression or the background music that you were playing over stays on this 1-4-5 or E, A, B major chord progression, then you're pretty much safe. You might run into trouble if someone is singing at the same time using another scale, like the major or major pentatonic. Then crossing over into the minor pentatonic might sound harsh to the ear. Or you might find a section of the song that changes things up and uses another chord from the key of E major, such as the F sharp minor, G sharp minor, C sharp minor, or even the D sharp diminished. If this happens, the E minor pentatonic scale will most certainly give off a mild or very unwanted contrast to the music. A solution here would be to go back to the root note, which is E, and hang on that for a while, or go to an octave E. If you know the chords are coming in advance, you can switch from the scale to the chords in time with the music. Or you could even play the root notes of the chords, which in that example I switched from a 1-4-5, E, A, and B, and on the second run I switched to the C sharp minor chord. So if you're coming out of a lead and you just want to enhance that chord, you might just switch from a E minor pentatonic up to the root note of the C sharp minor chord. Just throwing out some ideas that you might use when a change-up comes in a chord progression. The diatonic E minor scale, or 7-note minor scale, starts on the 6th string open E to the 2nd fret F sharp fret with the index, to the 3rd fret G note with the middle. The 5th string uses the same frets and fingerings for open A, 2nd fret B, and 3rd fret C. Then the 4th string open D to octave E on the 2nd fret. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, giving the minor scale a very unique musical quality. Next is our octave position, starting with the index finger on the 4th string 2nd fret, to the 4th fret with the ring, 5th fret with the pinky, to the 3rd string 2nd, 4th, 5th frets, that's index, ring, pinky, pivot to the 3rd fret, 2nd string 3rd fret with the index, and end on the 5th string octave with the ring finger. Altogether we're playing E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, and octave E. For the 2nd string position, start on the 5th fret with the index, 7th fret with the ring, 8th fret with the pinky. The 1st string is 5th fret, 7th, 8th, then up to the 10th, and end on the 12th fret octave. You can always change the fingerings to what is most comfortable for you, but in most cases, you might agree that the fingerings I've provided are the most useful. Regardless, the notes are the same. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. The 5th string scale position starts on the 7th fret to 9, 10, to 4th string 7th, 9th, 10th. Again, the best fingering is index, middle, pinky for both strings. And on the 3rd string we have 7 to octave E on 9. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. Up to the 3rd string position, we start on the 9th fret to 11, 12, pivot up 1 fret to start on the 2nd string 10, 12, 13, to 1st string 10, 12. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. Naturally, each note in the E minor scale can be a power chord. So if you see a song using E5, F sharp 5, G5, A5, B5, C5, and D5, you can guess that the minor scale can be used, and even the minor pentatonic scale. However, F sharp 5 may give you some unwanted contrast. Not always, but it will depend on what the rest of the song is doing, as in vocals or other melodic instruments. You may also want to avoid playing the minor 6 interval, that C note there. You might want to avoid playing that if a chord progression includes the F sharp 5, because it uses a C sharp, which will contrast with the C note in the minor scale. On the other hand, you can easily switch to the E minor pentatonic, which does not include the 6th interval, or the minor 6th interval, or scale degree, and that should fit. For example, if you have a section of the song that rests on the F sharp 5, you'll notice that the C or the 6th interval in the E minor scale will give a sharp contrast. So by switching from E minor to the E minor pentatonic, the other notes seem to work over that sharp 5. That's because the minor pentatonic is a shortened version of the minor scale. The minor includes the F sharp and the C notes. However, the minor pentatonic excludes these notes. When possible, you can work a lot more with slow-moving chords. If you have the opportunity, you can create a rhythm that will just ride on, say, the E5 for as long of a duration as you want, and you can move all over the neck using the different E scales. If you are playing over fast-moving chords, this sometimes creates contrast. So to resolve the contrast, you can choose to move through the scale notes using notes that complement the chords that are being played, or you can move in the direction of the chords or in the direction of the chord progressions. So if the chords are moving up, you may want to move up in pitch, or if they're moving down, you may want to have your lead move down in pitch, just to kind of accent what direction the chords are going. And these are just some ideas, some suggestions that I'm giving you for your own lead work. When you get to harmonizing the minor scale into triads, the E becomes an E minor. F sharp becomes F sharp diminished. The G is major. A is minor. B is minor. C is major. And D is major. Any combination of these chords will be your hint that the scale used is E minor or E minor pentatonic. The fingering I'm using for E minor is open on strings 1, 2, and 3, middle finger on the 4th string 2nd fret, index on the 5th string 2nd, and the 6th string is open. The F sharp diminished is an index barring the 2nd fret from strings 3 through 6, 5th string 3rd fret with the middle, and the 4th string 4th fret with the ring. For G, you could play the open G chord. But here I'm using the G major bar chord. So bar your index across the 3rd fret of all 6 strings. Add your middle finger to the 3rd string 4th fret, pinky to the 4th string 5th fret, and ring to the 5th string 5th fret. A minor is 1st string open, 2nd string 1st fret with the index, 3rd string 2nd fret with the ring, and the 4th string 2nd fret with the middle. The 5th string is open. To play the B minor, bar your index across the 2nd fret on strings 1 through 5, and add the 2nd string 3rd fret with the middle, 3rd string 4th fret with the pinky, and 4th string 4th fret with the ring. For C, you can play an open C chord, but I'm using a standard 5th string bar chord. Index on the 5th string 3rd fret, and bar the 5th fret on strings 4, 3, and 2. You can move this up 2 frets for the D chord, or you can play an open D, which I choose to play 1st string 2nd with the index, 2nd string 3rd fret with the ring, and 3rd string 2nd fret with the middle, 4th string is open. Altogether, you have the E minor, F sharp diminished, G major, A minor, B minor, C major, the D major, and you can resolve on E minor. So let's say we have an E minor to an A minor chord progression. We know both are derived from the key of E minor. Plus, there is a very good rule to learn. Usually, the first chord in a chord progression will tell you what key it is in. So in this case, we play the E minor to A minor progression, then test our E minor scale, and we see that it fits perfectly with both chords. Now let's look at a progression that doesn't start on the root of a key. For example, what if we have a B minor to A minor to E minor chord progression? Something like this. All three chords are derived from the E minor scale, but if you start on the E note, it might not sound exactly like you want it to over the B minor chord. So in cases like this, if we use the E minor scale but start on the B note and move with the progression, we'll find that the key is in E minor and that the scale will work, but you have to pay attention to what the notes you're playing over each scale might be. A rule of thumb, sometimes a scale will work perfectly if you know that all the chords are derived from that scale. And sometimes you do have to kind of move with the direction of the chords. So you might start out with the B, and when you get to the A minor, you can play start off with any of the A minor chord tones. So we've got an A, that's a possible tone we could start on. The E note would definitely fit better than it would over B because E is part of the A minor chord. A minor is made up of A, C, and E. So you can start with just about any note that you want there, either the A note, the C note, or even the E note. And naturally, when you get to the E minor, the entire scale should fit over the E minor chord. Let's look at a 4-chord progression. Here we have an E minor to C, to D, and to G. There's only one minor chord versus 3 major chords. Will the E minor scale fit? Well, all 4 chords come from the E minor scale, so if we try to play the scale over it, you see that it fits perfectly. When we compare the minor and major diatonic scales, we see 4 similarities and 3 differences. Starting with the root or first scale degree, we see those notes are the same. The second scale degree or interval is also the same. The third scale note, however, is different. For the minor scale, we play the G note on the 3rd fret, but the major scale uses the G sharp note on the 4th fret, which, as we learned, was a major 3rd. When playing the E minor scale, the G note is called our minor 3rd interval or minor 3rd scale degree. Moving on, the 4th scale for both is the same, A on the 5th string open, minor or for major. The 5th, our B note, is the same for both, for minor and major. However, the minor scale uses a minor sixth on the 5th string 3rd fret, which is a C note, versus the major scale, which has us play a major 6th interval on the 5th string 4th fret. Moving on to the 7th scale tone, the minor scale uses a D note, which is called a minor 7th, or also known as a dominant 7th scale degree or interval, where the major scale uses the D sharp, or the major 7th. And as we know, both scales resolve on E, the octave E, whether it's major or minor. So the notes in common will be the root, the 2nd, the 4th, and the 5th. The contrasting notes will be the 3rds and 6ths and the 7ths, which consists of our minor 3rd versus our 3rd, or also referred to as major 3rd. You could use either one. The minor 6th versus the 6th, and the minor 7th versus the major 7th. These common scale notes, when played as power chords, will allow us to use several scales. We have the E5, F sharp 5, A5, and B5. Any combination of these chords will create a canvas that allows you to use the major scale and major pentatonic along with the minor and minor pentatonic. Actually, you could try to fit the minor scale in. However, look out for the C note when you're playing over the F sharp 5 chord. The C note is a contrasting note to the C sharp, which is part of the F sharp 5 chord. Now, if it's moving fast enough, the ear might not catch it, so you can sneak in the minor scale over the F sharp 5 chord if you have a progression using, say, E and F sharp 5. On the other hand, keep in mind that you can definitely fit in the major, the major pentatonic, the minor will work. I'm sorry, the minor pentatonic will work. And the one to watch out for that might not work would be just the E minor. Only because of that C, which will contrast with the F sharp 5 chord. So that's a quick progression. E5, F sharp 5, A5 to B. So now let's switch up scales for lead work. You could take a progression like this and maybe throw in a major fill. And then the minor pentatonic. Maybe a major. And maybe a minor scale, which might contrast again over the F sharp. So just the point is, you definitely have to put some thought into it, but for the most part, you could kind of rely on scale notes and do whatever feels best to you. and see what fits. Now, if we leave out the F sharp 5 altogether, and let's say we're just playing an E5, A5 chord progression, and you could even throw in the B5, then we definitely have three neutral chords that can allow you to use either scale. So over a 1-4-5 chord progression, E being the 1, A5 being the 4, and B5 being the 5 chord, you're able to use all the scales we've learned so far: the major, the minor, the major pentatonic, and minor pentatonic. So be creative, have fun, maybe do a scale run, start off with a minor, and just for to spice things up, switch into a major pentatonic. It's completely up to you, so be creative and have fun. I'm just giving you the ideas for you to work with and see what you can come up with. Let's look at what we've covered so far regarding playing lead guitar over chords in the key of E. Power chords are neutral, not having a major or minor third. So if we have a song that uses any combination of E5, A5, or B5, we can use the major scale, major pentatonic, minor scale, and or the minor pentatonic. If we add the F sharp 5 chord, we find that the minor scale has a minor 6 interval, the C note, which will contrast with the C sharp note used in that F sharp 5 power chord. 6 out of the 7 scale notes will work, but that minor 6 interval may give unwanted contrast over an F sharp 5. So the minor scale will work sometimes. However, all three of the other scales will work all of the time, meaning the major pentatonic, and minor pentatonic. Changing to full chords, if we use the major chords E, A, and B, or any combination of these three chords, we find we can always use the major scale and major pentatonic. The minor scale, however, will not work. Let's try it out, but you'll see that's kind of got a sour sound to it. There are too many contrasting notes. On the other hand, the minor pentatonic with fewer notes will work over these major chords if we're looking for a distinct rock or blues lead guitar sound. Next, when we combine more chords, such as the chords derived from the E major scale, we find we are limited. So, any combination of E to F sharp minor, or G sharp minor, A major, B major, C sharp minor, and definitely D sharp diminished, that will limit us to the use of the major and major pentatonic scale. If we use the chords derived from the minor scale, as in the E minor, F sharp diminished, the G major, A minor, B minor, C, or D major, the major scales will not work. Too much of a contrast, too many contrasting notes. Kind of sounds sour over that, and especially if you have two guitars playing at once. If one's playing the a minor progression, and you go with a major pentatonic, it's just too contrasting over that minor chord sound. So we're limited then to use the minor scale and the minor pentatonic scale. The notes that neither the major or minor scales use would be the flat second note. In the key of E, this would be the F note on the 6th string 1st fret, and the flat 5th, which is a B flat note on the 5th string 1st fret. This note can also be called the sharp 4th. For example, if you were to substitute the A note with this note, it would be considered a sharp 4th because you were raising the A. But that gets into music theory, and this is easy lead guitar. So, for simplicity, we'll call these two notes the flat second and the flat 5th. Now let's run through all of the scale degrees or intervals. We start with the 6th string, open E for our root or first. The 1st fret is our flat second. The 2nd fret is our second. The 3rd fret is our minor 3rd to the 4th fret, which is our major 3rd. Skip to the 5th string open, which is our 4th interval. The 1st fret is our flat 5th interval. The 2nd fret is our 5th. 3rd fret is the minor 6th to the 4th fret for the major 6th. Switch to the 4th string open, and we have our minor 7th or dominant 7th interval. The 1st fret is the major 7th interval, and the 2nd fret is our octave. Here it is forward. And although it isn't on the sheet music, let's play it descending as well. To our octave E on the 4th string 2nd fret, with the index, middle on the 3rd, ring on the 4th, and pinky on the 5th. Next, move down 1 fret, placing your index on the 3rd string 1st fret, middle on the 2nd, ring on the 3rd, and pinky on the 4th. Then to the 2nd string, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up to the 5th fret for the octave. Root, flat second, second, minor 3rd, major 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, 5th, minor 6th, major 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, and octave. Both ascending and descending. To the 2nd string position, we start on the 5th fret for E, 6th, 7th, 8th, then drop down 1 fret to the 1st string 4, 5, 6, 7. Here I choose to quickly move my index up to the 8th fret, and then the rest of the fingers fall into place for 9, 10, 11, and then up to 12. We have the root, flat second, second, minor 3rd, major 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, 5th, minor 6th, 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, and octave. Both ascending and descending. For the 5th string position, start on the 7th fret, 8th, 9th, 10th, and the 4th string drop down to the 6th, 7, 8, 9, and then the 3rd string drop down to 5, 6, 7, 8, and up 1 to 9. Playing the root, flat second, second, minor 3rd, major 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, 5th, minor 6th, 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, and octave. Both ascending and descending. For the 3rd string scale position, start on 9, 10, 11, and 12. To the 2nd string, 9, 10, 11, and 12. To the 1st string, where we drop down to the 8, 9, 10, 11, and up 1 to 12. Root, flat second, second, minor 3rd, major 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, 5th, minor 6th, 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, octave. Ascending and descending. positions with the tempo. While this is still fresh in our heads, let's change keys again. This time we'll switch to the key of G. The root note is on the 6th string, 3rd fret. Next is the flat 2nd on the 4th fret, then the 2nd on the 5th fret. Minor 3rd interval on the 6th, major 3rd interval on the 7th. Then switch to the 5th string, the 4th interval is on the 3rd. Up to the 4th fret for the flat 5th. 5th fret is the 5th, then minor 6th, then the 7th fret for the major 6th. To the 4th string, 3rd fret for the minor 7th interval. Up to the 4th fret for the major 7, then the 5th fret for the root. All together we have the root, flat 2nd, 2nd, minor 3rd, major 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, 5th, minor 6th, major 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, and octave. And we'll play that ascending and descending. Next is the 4th string chromatic scale, starting on the 5th fret, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Then the 3rd string dropped down with the index on the 4th, middle on 5, ring to pinky, pinky on 7, to the 2nd string, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up to the 8th fret for the octave G. Root, flat 2nd, 2nd, minor 3rd, major 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, 5th, minor 6th, major 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, and octave. Ascending and descending. Starting on the 8th fret for the 2nd string. The chromatic scale position, we have 8, 9, 10, 11, then drop down to the 1st string, 7th fret. 8, 9, 10, and quickly move your index up to the 11th, followed by the 12, 13, 14, and up to the 15th for the octave G note. Root, flat 2nd, 2nd, minor 3rd, major 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, 5th, minor 6th, major 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, and octave. Both ascending and descending. For the 5th string, G scale position, for the chromatic scale, G is on the 10th fret, followed by 11, 12, 13, switch to the 4th string and drop down to 9, 10, 11, 12, then to the 3rd string, drop down to 8, 9, 10, 11, and up to 12 for the octave G. Root, flat 2nd, 2nd, minor 3rd, major 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, 5th, minor 6th, major 6th, minor 7th, major 7th, and octave. For the 3rd string, chromatic scale position, we start on the 12th fret to 13, 14, 15, then 2nd string, 12, 13, 14, 15, to the 1st string, drop down to 11, 12, 13, 14, and up to 15 to end on the octave G. Root, flat 2nd, 2nd, minor third, major third, fourth, flat fifth, fifth, minor sixth, sixth, minor seventh, major seventh, and octave. Ascending and descending. Here's all 5 positions with a tempo. Now that we know our G chromatic scale and each interval, we can easily apply the major scale interval formula. Root or first, second, major third, fourth, fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and octave root or the first. If you must know the names for each note in the G major scale are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. But from here on out, I'd rather refer to each scale degree, which will help you quickly and easily change keys. So we have a root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, major seventh, and octave. The fourth string major scale position starts with the middle finger on the 5th fret for the G, the root note, to the 7th fret, then the 3rd string, 4th fret with the index, 5th, 7th, then the 2nd string, index on the 5th, to the 7th, then 8th fret for the octave. That's root, 2nd, major 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, major 7th, and octave. For the 2nd string major scale position, start with the middle finger on the 8th fret G note, up to the 10th fret, then to the 1st string, 7th fret with the index, 8, 10, then quickly move your index finger up to the 12th fret, ring on the 14th, and pinky on the 15th for the octave. Root, 2nd, major 3rd, 4th, 5th, major 6th, major 7th, and octave. For the 5th string G major scale position, we'll start on the 10th fret with the index, up to 12, then 14, to the 4th string, 10, 12, 14, to the 3rd string, 11, then 12. Root, 2nd, major 3rd, 4th, 5th, major 6th, major 7th, octave. The 3rd string G major scale position is 12, 14, 16, 2nd string 13, 15, 17, 1st string 14, 15. Root, 2nd, major 3rd, 4th, 5th, major 6th, major 7th, octave. The major pentatonic scale is the same as the major scale, less the 4th and major 7th scale degrees. So on the 6th string, we have frets 3, 5, slide up to 7, to the 5th string 5, 7, and on the 4th string 5. So we have the root, second, major third, fifth, major sixth, octave. From the fourth string octave, we have frets 5, 7, up to 9, third string 7 to 9, to second string 8. Root, second, third, fifth, sixth, and octave. Also, you may notice sometimes you hear me use the term major third or major sixth. Not always necessary. However, for most instances, you will be required to specify if you are using a major seventh. And on the opposite hand, for the minor seventh, a lot of times people will just say the seventh referring to that. But that gets into music theory, and let's just stay focused on our scale here. So we have the fourth string root on the fifth, up to the second, major third, fifth, sixth, and octave. The second string scale positions is frets 8, 10, up to 12. First string, 10, 12, 15. You could finger that however you like. You can play the 12 with your ring, and then move the ring up to 15, or you could use a stretch. The choice is up to you. The fifth string positions start on the 10th fret, 12 up to 14, to the fourth string 12, 14, to the third string 12. Root, second, third, fifth, sixth, octave. And on the third string, we have frets 12, 14 to 16, to the second string pivot up to 15, 17, to first string 15. Root, second, major third, fifth, sixth, and octave. From here on, we'll refer to chords in each key numerically as well. They will follow the same order as each interval. So in the key of G, the G chord will be the 1 chord. Written, it will be the Roman numeral 1. The second chord is A minor, written with the Roman numeral 2 small m. The 3 chord is B minor, written with the Roman numerals 3 and a small m. Our fourth interval, C, so the 4 chord will be C major, written with the Roman numeral 4 up to the fifth interval. In the key of G, the fifth interval is D, so our 5 chord will be D, written with the Roman numeral 5. The 6th chord is an E minor, written with the Roman numeral 6 small m. And the 7th chord is our diminished chord. The 7th tone in the key of G is F sharp. So the 7th chord will be an F sharp diminished, with the Roman numeral 7 followed by small letters DIM for diminished. This is a uncommon chord, so the fingering is the 2nd string 1st fret with the index, 3rd string is 2nd fret with the middle, and the 4th string is the 4th fret with the pinky. And of course, you could always resolve this harmonized scale pattern by ending on the G chord. As a general rule, when using the major scale, the 1, 4, and 5 chords will always be major. the 2, 3, and 6 chords will always be minor. And the 7 chord will always be diminished. If you alter any of the chords, for example, if you play an F sharp 5 chord instead of a diminished chord, you might still be able to use the major scale for a lead, but technically you are no longer using the harmonized major scale. You're breaking away from that scale foundation that we're using, and you might find that certain tones will clash if you change the quality of a chord, say from diminished to a power chord or to a major or minor chord, or switching majors and minors. So just keep that in the back of your head when using leads. If you do alter the chords from the scale that we're using, you might have to sneak in a different scale or alter the scale a bit, eliminating a note or two that might not go well with the altered chord. And as we learned earlier in this video, each scale note can also be played as a power chord or a 5 chord. However, we learned that in the key of E, the 7 chord or the 7th scale note played as a power chord will have a contrasting 5th interval against the major scale. Specifically for the key of G, the 7 chord, F sharp, played as a power chord or an F sharp 5 chord, using the notes F sharp and C sharp, will contrast with the key of G major, which uses a C note in the scale. So if you find yourself in a situation playing against an F sharp 5 using the G major scale, you can either avoid the C note altogether, you can alter the C note by raising it to a C sharp for the duration of that F sharp 5 chord, or you could change the chord to be a flat 5. In other words, you're playing F sharp and C together. But as we see on the sheet music, we are using all power chords for this harmonized scale. So we'll have a G5, and actually, I correct myself, we're now using numerical references, so the G would be 1. So we have a 1-5, 2-5, 3-5, 4-5, 5-5, 6-5, 7-5. And you could always finish that or resolve it by ending on the G. So here is our harmonized major and minor chords with a tempo, followed by our chords with a tempo. The scale formula for a minor scale is root, second, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh, and root. Starting on the 6th string applied to the key of G, we have the 3rd fret, 5th, and 6th. To the 5th string, frets 3, 5, 6. To the 4th string, frets 3, 5. Root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, dominant 7th, and root. Our 4th string minor scale position starts on the 5th fret to 7, 8, 3rd string 5, 7, 8, 2nd string 6, 8. Root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th, or dominant 7th, and root. The 2nd string minor scale position is on the 8th fret, 10, 11, to 1st string 8, 10, 11, move up to 13, 15. Root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, dominant 7th, root. The 5th string minor scale position for the key of G is on frets 10, 12, 13, 4th string 10, 12, 13, to the 3rd string 10, 12. Root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, dominant 7th, root. And the 3rd string G minor scale position is on frets 12, 14, 15, 2nd string pivot up to 13, 15, 16, and 1st string 13, 15. We have the root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, dominant 7th, and root. Just a reminder, you can apply any scale position an octave higher or lower by moving 12 frets. For example, this 3rd string scale position, which starts on the 12th fret, can drop down to the 3rd string open, to the 2nd fret, 3rd, then 2nd string, 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 1st string 1st and 3rd. And just like always, we got the root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th octave. The minor pentatonic scale formula is root, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 7th, and root. In the key of G, starting on the 6th string, we have frets 3, 6, 5th string, frets 3, 5, 4th string, frets 3 and 5. Root, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 7th, and root. And you may recall from earlier studies that we can drop that minor 3rd down to the 5th string. We would play the root with our ring finger and drop down to the minor 3rd on the 5th string 1st fret with the index. Or you can play it with 2 notes on the starting string. The 4th string position is frets 5 and 8, 3rd string frets 5, 7, 2nd string frets 6, 8. Root to minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 7th, and root. The 2nd string minor pentatonic uses frets 8 to 11, 1st string 8, 10, 13, 15. The 5th string G minor pentatonic starts on the 10th fret. You could do that with the ring finger like we did with E, and drop down to the index on the 4th string 8, 10 to 12, third string 10, 12. You got the root, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, and root. The third string position starts on the 12th fret with the middle to the second string 11, 13, 15 to first string 13 and 15. Root, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, root. The numeric value for chords in a minor key are as follows. In the key of G, we have 1 M for the G minor chord, 2 diminished for the A diminished chord, flat 3 for the B flat, 4 M for the C minor, 5 M for the D minor, flat 6 for the E flat, flat 7 for the F, and of course you have an octave G minor or 1 minor. When you harmonize the minor scale, the 1, 4, and 5 chords are minors. The 3, 6, and 7 chords are major. And the 2 chord will be your diminished. If we were to use power chords, the only chord that might cause friction would be that 2 chord, since technically it would need a flat 5 to fit with our scale. So by playing that 2 chord as a true power chord, we're actually raising the chord's fifth. So it's very common when those chords are harmonized as diminished, it's very common for the rhythm guitar to just play a regular 5 power chord. So we have the 1-5 chord, 2-5, flat 3-5, 4-5, 5-5, flat 6-5, minor 7th, a dominant 7-5, and the octave 1-5 chord. In Section 10, we learned the basic lead guitar formula applied to the key of E. Now that we have converted a few keys to the numeric system, let's look at the basic lead guitar formula applied to a numeric system. If we have 1, 4, 5 power chords, we see we can use major, major pentatonic, minor, and minor pentatonic scales at will. So in the key of G, our 1 power chord would be G5, our 4 chord would be C5, and our 5 chord would be D5. Any combination of these 3 chords allows us to use any of the 4 scales we have learned. In the second row, we see that we can also include the 2 power chord and still be able to use the major, major pentatonic, and minor pentatonic scales, and sometimes the minor scale. However, the minor 6 interval may conflict with this chord. Sometimes the minor will fit. Next, we have the major chords 1, 4, and 5. Whenever we have any combination of these chords, you will be able to play lead guitar with a major scale, a major pentatonic, and even a minor pentatonic for rock and blues. However, the full minor scale will not work unless you are trying to make your audience cringe. There are too many conflicting notes. Next is the harmonized major scale, the 1, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4, 5, 6 minor, the 7 diminished, and then of course the octave again. Any combination of these chords will indicate that you can use the major and major pentatonic scales. However, the minor and minor pentatonic will not work. And finally, the harmonized minor scale, giving us the chords the 1 minor, 2 diminished, the flat 3, 4 minor, 5 minor, flat 6, flat 7, of course the octave minor. Any combination of these chords, and we could use the minor and minor pentatonic scales. The major scales, however, will clash with most of these chords. Let's learn each interval in the key of C. Then we'll advance by learning modes. Starting on the 5th string, we have C, or a root note, on the 3rd fret, flat 2nd interval on the 4th, 2nd on the 5th, minor 3rd on the 6th, 3rd or major 3rd on the 7th, to the 4th string 3rd fret for the 4th interval, flat 5th on the 4th string, 5th interval on the 5th fret, minor 6th on the 6th fret, and 6th or major 6th on the 7th fret. To the 3rd string, we have the dominant 7th interval on the 3rd fret, major 7th on the 4th, and octave on the 5th. If we apply the major scale formula of the root, second, major third, fourth, fifth, sixth, major seventh, root. Starting on the fifth string, we have frets 3, 5, 7. Fourth string, frets 3, 5, 7. And third string, 4, then 5. Root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, major seventh, root. Or the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. When we play the major scale, root to root, we have what is called the Ionian mode. In other words, the major scale is the same as the Ionian mode. However, if we start on the second interval, the D note, and play it to its octave, then we have the Dorian mode. So in the key of C, if we start on the D note and play to the octave D note, we are playing the Dorian mode. When you start on the third interval and play to its octave, you have the Phrygian mode. Applied to the key of C, the third interval is E. So play E to E. But by maintaining the same notes used in the C major scale, we have the Phrygian mode. When you start on the fourth interval and play to its octave, you have the Lydian mode. In the key of C, the fourth interval is F. So F played to F is the Lydian mode. The fifth interval played to the fifth interval gives us the Mixolydian mode. So G to G, when using the notes from the C scale, will give us the Mixolydian mode. The sixth interval played to its octave gives us the Aeolian mode. The key of C major, using the notes A to A, is Aeolian. The seventh interval played to its octave gives us the formula for the Locrian mode. In the key of C, the B to B pattern is the Locrian mode. Here are all 7 modes played with a tempo. The scale degree formula derived from each mode and apply it to the C note. We already know the C Ionian because it's the same as the C major. The Ionian mode can be played over any major chord or power chord sharing its name. In this case, C major, or the C5 power chord. Anytime we see a major or 5 chord, the note that names that chord, in this case it's a C, we can play that major or that Ionian mode over those chords. The Dorian is a bit different, however. The Dorian mode uses a minor third and a minor seventh. The formula is a first, second, minor third, fourth, fifth, major sixth, minor seventh, and octave. Applied to C, we have the 5th string 3rd fret, 5th, 6th to 4th string 3, 5, 7 to 3rd string 3, 5. Again, that's a root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, major 6th, minor 7th, and root. You would play the Dorian mode over its minor chord or a power chord. The Phrygian mode uses a root, flat 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th, and root. The minor 2nd gives this mode a very unique sound. Applied to C, we have the 5th string frets 3, 4, 6, 4th string 3, 5, 6, 3rd string 3, and 5. You can play this over its minor chord, and of course its power chord. The Lydian mode uses a root, 2nd, 3rd, sharp 4th, 5th, 6th, major 7th, and root. Applied to C, we have the 5th string 3, 5, 7, 4th string 4, 5, 7, 3rd string 4, then 5. The Lydian mode will work well over a major chord or power chord using the same root. The Mixolydian mode is almost identical to the Ionian or major scale. It uses the root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, but the only change is the minor 7th interval, then back to the root. In C, we have the 5th string 3, 5, 7, 4th string 3, 5, 7, to the 3rd string, frets 5, then 7. And of course, it works over its major chord and power chord. The Aeolian mode is the same as our minor scale, consisting of the root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th, and root. Applied to C, it's the 5th string, frets 3, 5, 6, 4th string 3, 5, 6, 3rd string 3, 5. As we know, the minor scale can be played over its minor chord or power chord. The Locrian mode has a very unique quality to it. The formula is root, flat 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, flat 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th, and root. Applied to C, it's the 5th string, frets 3, 4, 6, 4th string 3, 4, 6, 3rd string 3, 5. The Locrian mode can be played over its diminished chord, like the C diminished. And it can be played over a flat 5 interval, like the C combined with a G flat. Instead of a C5, this is a C flat 5 interval. If you were to play it against a C major chord, a C minor chord, or even a C5 power chord, it would sound very harsh, because keep in mind, these chords use a root and a fifth in addition to the major third or minor third. But having that fifth interval will clash with the Locrian mode. It ignores the fifth entirely and uses a flat fifth and a minor sixth. So especially when you have another guitar playing, and if it's playing a power chord, C major or C minor, if you were to play that Locrian C mode over a C chord of that nature, it would sound very harsh. However, as you'll learn, you're not just limited to playing over a chord with the same name. For example, there are other chords that include a C note, where you might be able to squeeze in a C Locrian mode. For example, the F major chord is made up of the notes F, A, and C. Since the C note is part of the F chord, there are times when you might want to experiment and try a C Locrian mode over the F chord. In some cases, it might work. We'll get into more examples of mode exploration in a bit. For now, let's run through all 7 C modes with a tempo. In the past, we have looked at playing in key, in other words, establishing what key a song is in and sticking to that scale. That is what most lead guitarists will do when playing a lead fill or a guitar solo. However, at times you can really enhance the music you are playing by altering the scale you are using. For example, if your chord progression is a 1-4-5, in the key of C, this would be C, F, and G. Naturally, the 1 chord dictates what key we are in. So we already know we could use the C major scale to solo over this progression. However, you can also change keys with the chord changes. So when the chord progression changes from C to F, you can also change to the F major scale. You can go a step further and keep soloing with the F scale when the chord progression switches back to the C chord. That's because C is the 5 chord in the key of F. However, you'll want to change back to the C scale when the chord progression moves to G. And that's because G includes a B note, which would clash with the B flat, which is the 4th interval in the F major scale. So, in that case, when you do switch to the G, you can either switch to the G major scale to solo over the G chord, or you could switch back to the C scale. Now, these are some advanced concepts, and I'm just kind of throwing them at you to give you an idea of what you can experiment with to enhance your leads beyond just playing in key. Now, the major scale might be a bit too busy for your liking, in which case you might want to use the major pentatonic over each chord. So you can use the C major pentatonic over the C chord. When you switch to F, there you have the F major pentatonic over the F chord and the G major pentatonic over the G chord. And although the chords are all major, the minor scale might not work, but the minor pentatonic, as we know, will give the music a rock or blues quality. So over C, try a C minor pentatonic. Over F, although it's a major chord, use the F minor pentatonic. And over G, use the G minor pentatonic. You can also use the major modes over any major chord. So over a C major chord, you can use the C Ionian, the C Lydian, and the C Mixolydian. I'm calling these major modes because the root, third, and fifth make up a major chord. In this case, C, E, and G, which make up a C chord. There are also three minor modes, which can be played over the minor chords. So if we have a C minor, we can play the Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian modes. I call these minor modes because the 1, flat 3, and 5, or 1, minor third, and 5th, make up the minor chord, or C, E flat, G in this example. The Locrian mode is built on the 7th scale degree, and it's 1, flat 3rd, flat 5th, make up a diminished chord. The Locrian mode works best over a diminished chord. However, as we discussed in the past, there are times when you can sneak it in over other chords. These concepts are beyond basic, so exploration and experimentation is going to be your best bet. At this point, I think we've gone far beyond the scope of an easy DVD title, but I do want to cover a few more things and allow you to decide if you want to explore advanced lead guitar concepts on your own. As we learned in the past, the more simplified your rhythm guitar or chord progression is, the more you can do with your lead guitar work. For example, over a single power chord, you can use almost any scale or mode that we have learned. The only contrasting group of notes would be the Locrian mode, since it has a flat 5th, which would clash with the 5th interval used in a power chord. If you have the opportunity, you can tailor your lead guitar sections ahead of time, allowing you to use more scales. For example, if the song or chord progression you are playing over uses major and minor chords, or even 7th or extended chords, you can write your lead guitar section to only include power chords, which would give you the ability to broaden the scales you use and to write a lead guitar solo. If you are the only guitar player, you can ask the bass player and/or the keyboard player to only play single root notes or bass notes in place of full chords for your lead section. Over any major chord, you can play the major scale, major pentatonic, and at times minor pentatonic. As we know, the Ionian mode is the same as the major scale, but we can also play the Lydian mode and Mixolydian mode. If you start playing extended chords, such as sevenths, major sevenths, ninths, 11ths, and 13ths, you really start to limit what scales you can use. For example, a C major 7 includes the major 7 interval or B note. In theory, this limits your use of scales to the major or Ionian, major pentatonic, and Lydian mode. If you play a C7, also known as C dominant 7, the B flat note will clash with the B in the Ionian and Lydian modes. So in this case, you're limited to the Mixolydian mode. You could sneak in the major pentatonic. And for a rock or bluesy tone, you could use the minor pentatonic. But everything else has a tendency or the possibility to clash. So, when you get into these extended chords, you limit what scales and modes you can use. Therefore, if you are playing over chord progressions using extended chords, a little more research and experimentation on your part will be needed to find out what works and what doesn't. Over any minor chord, for this example we'll use C minor, you can use its minor scale, which is the same as the Aeolian mode. You can use the minor pentatonic, the Dorian mode, and the Phrygian mode. You might be able to sneak in the Locrian mode because it shares the root and minor third interval. However, the flat 5 will clash over the 5th interval in the minor chord. Again, if you are able to write your own lead guitar chord progression, you might want to just drop down to a C bass note if you were thinking about playing a lead with the C Locrian mode. If you look down the chart about halfway, you'll see some common chord progressions and some recommended scales and modes which can be played with these progressions. First, we see the 1 chord to 2 minor chord progression. To the right of the chords, you see the word yes in the Ionian and again in the Mixolydian mode columns. And all the way to the right, under the pentatonic column, you see yes for the major pentatonic and some, or which means sometimes, for the minor pentatonic. In the key of C, that would be a C major to D minor chord progression. And the chart indicates that you can lead over this progression with the Ionian mode, the Mixolydian mode, the major pentatonic scale, and sometimes the minor pentatonic scale. By the way, this DVD entitles you to access to printable charts like the one on your screen right now. On to the next progression. It is a 1 to 3 minor, which shares the same notes as the Ionian and Lydian modes. and the major pentatonic scale. In the key of C, play C major to E minor, followed by an Ionian, Lydian, and major pentatonic. The 1-4 chords share the same notes as the Ionian and Mixolydian modes, the major pentatonic, and you could sometimes sneak in the minor pentatonic. In C, we have C major to F major for the 1-4 chords, and of course the C Ionian mode, the C Mixolydian mode, the major pentatonic, and the minor pentatonic. A 1-5 progression shares the same notes as the Ionian and Lydian modes, major pentatonic and sometimes minor pentatonic. In the key of C, that would be C to G major, and for the lead, Ionian, Lydian, major pentatonic, and sometimes you could sneak in the minor pentatonic. On to the next chart, we have a 1 to 6 minor chord progression sharing the same notes as the Ionian, Mixolydian, major pentatonic, and sometimes minor pentatonic. That would be C to A minor, and solo with the Ionian mode, Mixolydian, major pentatonic, and sometimes the minor pentatonic. The second progression on this chart shows a 1 minor to flat 3 major chord movement, sharing the same notes as the Aeolian, Dorian, and Phrygian modes, as well as the minor pentatonic scale. In C, that's our C minor to E flat major, sharing the same notes for the lead as the C Aeolian, C Dorian, and Phrygian modes. Along with the minor pentatonic scale. And you might even try borrowing or mixing scale notes for a more unique approach. The 1 minor to 4 minor chord progression shares the same notes as the Aeolian and Phrygian modes, and the minor pentatonic scale. That would be C minor to F minor, followed by C Aeolian, C Phrygian, and minor pentatonic. Next we have the 1 minor to 5 minor progression, sharing the same notes as the Aeolian and Dorian modes and minor pentatonic scale. Applied to the key of C, we have C minor to G minor. For lead guitar, we have Aeolian, Dorian, and minor pentatonic. The 1 minor to flat 6 major progression shares the same notes as the Aeolian and Phrygian modes and minor pentatonic scale. The 1 minor to flat 6 chord progression includes C minor to A flat major, with C Aeolian, C Phrygian, and minor pentatonic. The 1 minor to flat 7 or minor 7 major chord. This progression shares the same notes as the Aeolian and Dorian modes and minor pentatonic. We're calling this a flat 7 chord because we're deriving the root note from the minor scale. So in C minor, the 1, of course, is going to be C minor. The 7 is a flat 7 interval, and this is a B flat note. So the 1 minor to flat 7 chord progression would be a C minor to a B flat progression. And when you have a progression like this in the key of C, we play the C minor, B flat major, our lead guitar options would be C Aeolian, we could also use the C Dorian, and of course the C minor pentatonic. So just to run through the scales without improvising, we have the C minor to B flat, and the lead guitar options use C Aeolian, C Dorian, and minor pentatonic. So what if we have two chords that don't fit any specific scale that we've learned, like the E to an F major? You can take the notes of each chord, then combine them to come up with a scale to play over that chord progression. The E chord consists of E, G sharp, and B. F consists of F, A, and C. So we start with the E to F to G sharp to A, B, C. Next we have octave E, F, G sharp, A, B, C. And if you want to go higher, we have another octave. The E, F, G sharp, A, B, C. In scale degrees or intervals, this is a root, flat second, third, also known as a major third, fourth, fifth, minor sixth. So with this E to F rhythm, we can now play this 6-note scale, and the notes fit perfect with the chord progression. Here's a similar progression, E to F minor. We have the notes E, F, and G sharp. G sharp is used in both chords, followed by B and C. So we only have a 5-note scale to play over this progression. Here's the octave, E, F, G sharp, B, C. And another octave, E, F, G sharp, B, C. That's a root, a flat second, major third, fifth, minor sixth. Another unique chord progression is E to G major. This gives us the notes E, G, G sharp, B, and D. We have a root, a minor third, a third, fifth, minor seventh. This is getting far beyond the scope of this DVD, so let's look at a few more uncommon chord progressions, then I will leave you with a formula for creating your own lead guitar voicings for any situation. The progression we have here is a 3-chord progression moving from E to G sharp major to C minor. It's very suspenseful and I dare say uncommon. For E we have the notes E, G sharp, and B. G sharp gives us the notes G sharp, C, and E flat, and C minor gives us C, E flat, and G. Altogether, when we combine them in alphabetical order, we have E, G, G sharp, B, C, E flat. A very unique 6-note scale. Root, flat third, third, fifth, flat sixth, major seventh, and of course the root again. And here's another uncommon group of chords. E major to B flat major 7 to C minor 7. We have E, G sharp, and B from the E chord. The B major 7 gives us B, D, F, and A, and C minor 7 gives us C, E flat, G, and B flat. So this is a very strange progression, which gives us 9 notes that we can use as a scale. The E, F, G, G sharp, A, B flat, E, C, to E flat. We have a root, flat second, minor third, major third, fourth, flat fifth, fifth, minor sixth, major seventh. this goes way beyond the scope of what this title is intended to be. After all, it is called Easy Lead Guitar DVD, which can really be encompassed by the use of major and minor scales that we learned early on. The use of modes got us into intermediate and advanced theory. And now, by introducing you to the concept of customizing scales based on chords, I have opened you up to a whole new world of creativity. If this is something that interests you, be on the lookout for my upcoming title, Easy Guitar Harmony DVD, which will cover this concept in much more depth. For now, I'll leave you with a formula for doing it yourself. This DVD gives you access to a printable note chart that you can use to map out any chords and derive your own scales. Simply highlight any notes you're playing, and you'll be able to find different scale positions anywhere on the fretboard. That's it for now, and I sincerely hope you've enjoyed Easy Lead Guitar DVD, and that you now feel comfortable with what to play or not to play when writing lead guitar fills and solos. My name is Mark John Sternal, and I've enjoyed bringing this method to you. Changing keys simply means starting on a new root note. If we take the E major scale and move it up one fret to start on F, we are now playing in the key of F. Move up to G on the 3rd fret, play the same major scale pattern, and you are in the key of G. Up to the A on the 5th fret, and you are now in the key of A. Earlier, I said we were going to learn our scales inside and out. So let's take everything we've learned and apply it to the key of A. Starting on the 6th string 5th fret, we have our root or first interval. The 6th fret is our flat 2nd. The 7th fret is our 2nd. 8th fret is the minor 3rd. 9th fret is the 3rd or major 3rd to the 5th string 5th fret, and we have our 4th interval. The 6th fret is a flat 5. 7th fret is the 5th. 8th fret is the minor 6th. The 9th is our 6th or major 6th interval to the 4th string 5th fret for the minor 7th, or also known as the dominant 7th. 6th fret is the major 7th, and the 7th fret is our octave. Now that we know where each interval is, we can easily build the major scale, consisting of the A root note on the 6th string 5th fret, our 2nd on the 7th fret, and major 3rd on the 9th fret. To the 5th string, we have the 4th interval on the 5th fret, 5th interval is on the 7th, and the 6th interval, or major 6th interval, is on the 9th. To the major 7 on the 4th string 6th fret, and the octave A on the 7th fret. The major pentatonic scale uses the same notes minus the 4th and 7th intervals, or scale degrees. So on the 6th string we have the root on the 5th fret, 2nd on the 7th fret with the ring, moving the ring finger up 2 frets. We have the major 3rd on the 9th, and this puts our index finger in place to switch to the 5th string, 5th interval on the 7th fret, then the major 6th with the ring, and end on the 4th string 7th fret for the octave A, and we have the A major pentatonic scale. And by now you should be comfortable applying these to the other positions, so you would also have the 4th string position and the 2nd string position. And of course you would have the 5th string position either open or on the 12th fret. Third string position would be on 3rd string 14th fret. Or you could also play that on the 3rd string 2nd fret. Moving on, we have the key of A, major pentatonic with the tempo. To build the minor scale, play the root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th, and octave. That's the 6th string, frets 5, 7, 8, 5th string, frets 5, 7, 8, and 4th string, frets 5 and 7. Of course, you could start your octave over on the 4th string, and again on the 2nd string. The minor pentatonic scale uses the same notes as the minor scale, less the 2nd and the minor 6th interval. So, when transferring this to the key of A, we have the root note to the minor 3rd, to the 4th, 5th, and minor 7th to the octave. Another way you can play that is playing the minor 3rd instead of on the 6th string 8th fret. You could play it on the 5th string 3rd fret. In other words, you would play the A root with your ring, like we've done in other positions, and go to the minor 3rd on the next string. Or play the 2 notes on the 6th string. And of course, you can take the knowledge that you've already gained and apply it to different positions. Anywhere that you find those notes or those intervals,